Well, last week, John Major came up with a series of new measures to try to give a shot in the arm to the city technology colleges. There were supposed to be about 20 by now. Actually, there are only 7, with another 8 in the pipeline. The idea was that the schools would be beacons of excellence, financed largely by big business. But the money hasn't been forthcoming, and the government's had to put in much more cash than it had planned. The first college, or CTC as they're now called, opened in Solihull. It's getting near end of term at Kingshurst, and the students are showing off special projects they've been working on for the past couple of weeks. The college opens its doors not just to proud parents, but also to the industrialists who pay much of the cost of running the school. There's plenty for them to see, like this box of tricks.
It's a pinhole camera and it's made out of card. You have to aim it at the thing that you want to take a photo of, and you open the shutter, and depending on where you are, you leave it for different times. If you're inside, it's usually about 15 to 20 minutes, and if you're outside, it can be anything from 2 to 3 minutes.
Kirsty and Emma are 13 and are showing 2 of the qualities the college principal wants to instill in her students: enthusiasm and confidence.
I would just like them all to enjoy coming here, to be happy, and very much to achieve their maximum potential. I believe in giving them freedom, their heads, and allowing them to be very creative, to solve problems, make decisions.
I've made an automatic lever gate barrier for a level crossing or car park or something like that. And what it does is when you turn it on, the counter here goes up to 8. When it gets there, the relay here cuts out the motor and everything stops.
Kingshurst was the first City Technology College, or CTC as they're called in the trade. There were supposed to be 20 by now, but only 7 have actually opened. Geoffrey Walford has followed the project from day one and written a book about it.
The school obviously has a very keen, a very talented staff, and the staff offer an environment for the children that must be very good for the children that are here.
Kelly would agree. The college is bursting with computers and she's a dab hand.
This is an animation. I'm writing my name, and now I'm going to put a box around it in a different colour.
But other schools in the parts of Birmingham and Solihull which make up Kingshurst catchment area feel they're paying the price.
The perception, of course, in the other schools is actually that what's happened is the CTC has selected out from their schools children that they want. They perceive that the CTC has selected out children who are highly motivated and parents who are highly motivated, and they believe that they'd actually like those children in their own schools.
Well, we're certainly not skimming off the cream. We are required to take a completely mixed ability intake, so it's truly comprehensive. What we're looking for is a variety of students to really show what the average student in particular and below average can achieve, because I think there's a great wastage of talent in this country. And too often people say, oh, well, they can't do that, or they're not very good at that, or you're not a very good mathematician. If you give children the opportunity to do things and to get enthused and excited about it and believe that they can do it, then they'll do it.
I've got a robot arm. I've designed and built it myself, and it's worked by motors and cogs.
It's by no means all about technology. Valerie Bragg puts as much emphasis on drama and things like art and design.
Well, we've been doing a project on recycling. And we decided to make dresses, like ball gown dresses, out of bin liners and bin bags. And we're just going to show them off on the catwalk and everything.
Kingshurst is trying to set a new fashion when it comes to exams. Instead of A-levels, they do Business and Technician Education Council diplomas, and a thing called the International Baccalaureate, a broad-based exam more akin to what they do in France.
Well, I think since we've been here, we have acted as a catalyst. And I think we've acted as a catalyst in lots of ways. Many schools have started to look to their strengths, to consider what they're doing better. And certainly as far as the post-16 curriculum is concerned, there is no doubt we've been a dramatic catalyst there.
What the CTC has done is it said we're going to offer a different form of education post-16. We're going to offer BTEC, that's the Business and Education Technicians Council, courses, and we're also going to offer the International Baccalaureate. There is wide support for both of those. And I hope that because the CTC has done it, then it will become much more widely known.
Daniel's been looking at the weather for his project.
Well, I've got a satellite system that's showing like the weather for today. This was taken today from a weather satellite using the satellite dish on the roof. It shows low pressure out here in the Atlantic, which is drawing away all the thunderstorms we've had. South Devon and South Islands are still copping it, but we're fine and dry. Tomorrow it's going to be the same sort of thing, really.
Support for Kingshurst comes from a number of firms. The Hanson Corporation came up with £1 million to get it started. Jeff Chapman is a former teacher and now runs one of the smaller companies supporting the college.
We put money into the CTC because we felt that it met more closely our needs, which are needs for technologically competent children. I think the standard of education of children coming out today is not as high as it was. Certainly not as high as it was in my day. Having been a school teacher, I have a certain sympathy for the educational system because, of course, society's needs are different today. I think, to answer your question, I don't think it's as high as it was in the past.
Brian Inch, a director of the big engineers GKN, sees it rather differently.
Well, I think generally they're better than they were in the days when I was at school, in as much that they are now better trained to meet the needs of industry, and the education system prepares them better for industry than it did certainly when I was at school.
But isn't he really asking schools like the CTC to make up for industry's own shortcomings when it comes to training?
I don't think so. We did cut back on our apprentice training in the early 80s, and indeed that was a mistake, and it's something that we've tried to rectify in recent years. We look to the education system, I think, for rather a different input to our company, and we are not looking to the CTC or any other school to train people the way we used to train apprentices from 16 to 18.
There's near universal agreement on the quality of Kingshurst, but the politicians are still scrapping over the CTC policy itself. Last week, John Major announced new measures to encourage more CTCs. But will big business part with the money?
Some very important industries have decided that they definitely do not want to back the CTCs, and others have backed with a much smaller amount of money than was expected. The initial idea was that industry and commerce would come up with the large percentage of the actual capital costs of the CTCs. In practice, that hasn't happened. In practice, we now have about 20% of the capital costs being paid for by industry.
James Pawsey, why is industry failing to come up with the money to support the CTC?
Well, I'm not sure that that's correct at all. If we take the film that we've just been watching, Solihull, industry has come up with over £2 million worth. Now, that isn't bad. The total cost, remember, was £9 million. So I think that the contribution made by industry has been good. Also, one should remember that the whole concept of CTCs was to introduce them by way of a pilot scheme. And we believe that we will have 20 CTCs up and running over the course of the next 2 years or so. And I have no doubt, and I speak as an old technical school boy myself, that CTCs will do an enormous amount of good. And when we looked at the roll call of names, people like GKN, W.H. Smith, and all the others that are involved in support for the CTCs, it really is a lot of good news. I welcome it.
Derek Fatchett, as Labour's spokesman on education and tertiary education, rather, what's your reaction to that?
Well, the simple fact is that the CTC programme has failed. The figure of 20 that Jim Pawsey just quotes was the target for 1989, so the government is 2 years late on that, and that's 20 out of 26,000 schools in the country. Industrialists are not really interested in the CTC programme. What they want to see is a general improvement in education.